Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our podcast, Reshape Hospitality with Ted. I'm your host, Maria, and with me is my co host, Kazim. Today, we have with us a very special guest. He is an industry leader with experience of more than 20 years, a hotel technology expert, and currently the Chief Technology Officer of American Hotel and Lodging Association. He is Mike Blake. Welcome and thanks for joining us.
Maria and Kazim, thanks for having me. It's great to be on and absolutely looking forward to it.
Mike, finally, we got a chance to have a conversation on our podcast. I mostly ask questions related to career journey and try to get to know our guests better. And today, we would love to hear from you about yourself. Could you please give us a quick overview of your background to our audience, like when you started your career and how did you reach your current position as you are in today?
Sure. I think Maria, what this is going to be our little secret, so don't tell anyone, Kazim, you too. But I'm a CPA. So I'm also an accountant. So I that's kind of where I started. I was an accountant, and what I try not to tell everyone is that I was an accountant, but I was an accountant for large IT shops. So I started working my craft, and by the way, I ended up going back to school at Northwestern and got a computer engineering degree. So I kind of got some legit IT props. So I am legit IT, but I got to tell you, I love IT. I always have. And, big shout out to Harmeet Singh, who was the CFO at Hyatt, and he was now the chief financial and growth officer at Levi. He gave me a chance to be the CIO at Hyatt, and I got to tell you, I haven't looked back. I really love hospitality, and we'll get into it a little bit about how hospitality and technology technology for hospitality is a little different, as you guys probably know. So let's get into it, and enough about me, and let's get into what I think people are interested about is the what's going on in the industry and what's happening.
As you were originally trained as an accountant, so what motivated you to switch to technology and what were the challenges that you faced? And also, please share some important lessons you learned from those challenges.
Sure. I think, being an accountant, and I tell this to actually I have three sons, and my middle son is actually studying accounting. So he actually
Mhm.
listened to me. And I told him, accounting is a good basic options creation for your career. And what you're
Mhm.
able to do is understand and pivot, because you understand the language of the business, and that's the numbers. And really, technology is a manifestation of the numbers, and technology is all about understanding the numbers. And as a CFO of some very large IT shops, I was that one sitting right next to the CIO, kind of interpreting kind of what's going on with the operation and what's happening. So that skill
Mhm.
set lent itself very well to IT.
That's truly inspiring and yes, motivating. You already gave shout out to one person, right? But we would love to know more people in your life who motivated you to achieve your goal.
Sure. I gave a big shout out to Harmeet, who's the chief financial and growth officer at Levi Strauss now.
Mhm.
But I got to tell you, there's a lot of people that I could work
Mhm.
down the list, and it's just so inspiring to be part of the Hyatt family still. And Mark Hoplamazian, who I think is just who's the CEO at Hyatt, just a great and inspirational leader.
Mhm.
Along with the Pritzker family, Tom, John, and Jason, they are kind of the patriarchs of the Hyatt, and well, at the time it was Commune and GLO Capital. But there's other folks out there. Every time you try to name somebody, you're going to forget people. But I got to tell you, I got to call out the association world, guys like Frank Wolf or Bob Gilbert,
Mhm.
or you even got the the folks out there who do hospitality upgrade and hospitality technology, Rich Siegel and Abby Lorden, and then of course my own shop. You get
Mhm.
inspiration from the people you work with, and that's absolutely Kevin Carey and Chip Rogers, and my own team, but Sandy, Dave, Gary Blair, and a shout out to Andre too. So I know they're going to listen to this. So I'm glad you're giving me the chance for me to recognize them at the same time. So thank you.
Yeah, you're always welcome. And I'm glad too that you mentioned that. As you are the CTO at AHLA, what are
Mhm.
your primary responsibilities and what do you aim to achieve there?
Sure. So part of my portfolio is I actually do technology for the association. So that is a piece of my accountability. So we do all the cybersecurity issues. We want to keep the train running. And so I get involved with Active Directory and all that stuff that the normal CTO does. My portfolio is nowhere close to as complex as it used to be, but we do have people kind of spread out throughout the world. But I also still maintain the head of HT&G, which is Hospitality Technology Next Generation. And as much as our name has an A in it, which is stands for, we say that IT issues don't have borders. So we have a
Mhm.
global remit. So I work with brands all over the world. And
Mhm.
with that, even though it's the American hotel lodging, HDNG is
Mhm.
still global in nature.
Mhm.
And I deal with that global nature part of it. And we solve common problems
Mhm.
throughout the industry. And we work through work groups to harness this collective wisdom and really solve common problems and unlock global business potential. So we still do best practices and we still do standards.
With so many association in the industry, how do you think in the coming years AHLA will contribute towards shaping the hospitality industry and what's
Mhm.
AHLA's vision?
Yeah, I think within the context of HT&G, which is a subset of AHLA, we're going to continue to do what we do. And I got to tell
Mhm.
you, all, not we work very closely with the other associations, so we tend not to overlap. We do have members from theirs work on
Mhm.
work groups of ours, so we tend not to overlap, and we really work on things that are important within the industry. Like right now, we're just wrapping up a white paper on AI, which I think
Mhm.
everyone is interested in. Attribute modeling is definitely on the horizon, and we're going to finish that. And then, of course, we're always looking at the infrastructure of the hotel and what the next generation looks like, and we should be publishing that standard here pretty soon. And all these are available on the website too. So we offer everything in front of the paywall, so nobody has to be a member or pay. You can actually get a lot of this information without having to be a member. We do this because I think it's the right thing to do.
Your insights are so valuable that you mentioned about HTNG and EHLA's contribution and its vision. And you know what, Mike? This adds a new layer to our discussion as you have participated in technical conferences as a speaker and being a technology leader. What's your input on chair and linear quotation? The most important thing about technology is how it changes people.
Right. You know what? I look at technology, especially in hospitality, because it covers so many people in the ecosystem. So you can't really think of technology decisions in isolation. It's not just one person technology touches. It's going to eventually get to the guest. It's going to eventually get to the other workers within the hotel, and you really got to be conscious of all that. I tell people, look, the way to handle this proliferation of technology in our industry is you got to really go by this principle. You got to think big, then start small, and then you can scale fast. So think about it. When you are trying to do something new, let's say we're trying to bring in AI into our organization, we're going to
Mm-hmm.
think big about it. We're going to think about what it can do and all that. And then maybe start really small, like maybe at corporate headquarters or a division in corporate headquarters, or maybe one hotel. And then
Mm-hmm.
we're going to proliferate it throughout the organization. That's kind of the beauty of that which we do.
Your input on this quotation makes me think that the future is bright and we should
Yes.
keep moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that, we live right now, as fast as technology feels. Just think, right now is the slowest pace of technology it will ever be. So kind of a crazy thing to think about, right? Because we think how fast technology is, it's
Mhm.
only going to
Exactly.
accelerate faster. And right now, it's really the slowest time ever. So it's only going to get quicker.
Yeah, being an experienced leader too, if I ask this, what advice for young hospitality newbies who
Mhm.
are planning to start their career in this wonderful industry where we both are working? So,
Well,
what you recommend them?
I definitely say, hospitality is a great place to be because there are so many job paths that one can go down. I mean, keep your options open. Really, if you enjoy people and you enjoy
Mm-hmm.
working with people, hospitality is a great career to have. Um, as I tell my kids, keep your debts low and save money and diversify. Those are the things you can really, if for your entire life, no matter who you are, if you can just keep your options open, keep your debts low, save money, and diversify, you're in good shape. That's general advice I give everybody.
Thanks for sharing that. And Mike, throughout our conversation, I can feel your passion for the industry, and the way you speak about your achievement is truly impressive.
Well, thank you, Maria. It is a great industry, and it's definitely one that I would say anybody could really propel themselves and do really well. And I do think that we are in a new age of technology now. Things that we were thinking about and contemplating 10 years ago are really coming to fruition even today. And
Yeah.
with that, I think the solutions are getting better, they're getting faster, and they're getting cheaper. And that really is pretty exciting all the way down the path.
Yeah, I agreed with your point that the industry is very innovative and we should keep working on that.
Yeah, and I want people to recognize that innovation doesn't necessarily have to come from an individual. Innovation a lot of the times comes with the partners that you're working with. I find that the more innovative you can be with working with the right partners,
Mhm.
innovation curves are additive. So you can be as innovative as Google if you work with Google, as innovative with Microsoft if you work with Microsoft, innovative as
Mhm.
any one of these large companies. You can do any one of those things and be as innovative as they am and be even more innovative because you're working with all these different companies together.
Yeah, I like the way you share your experiences with our audience. Can you share some enjoyable and healthy activities that you do, and how do you balance work and family
Sure.
time with your wife and three boys?
Well, as I said, I do have three boys, and two of them are in college now. So that,
Oh,
well, I shouldn't have say that because the oldest one just graduated a few weeks ago. So he is
oh,
out
congratulations.
on his. Thank you. He is out on his own doing his thing. He's He graduated from the University of Utah, and he is living in Utah, in Salt Lake
Mhm.
City, and working for Goldman Sachs out there. So we're pretty
Mhm.
happy with him. The middle one is actually at the University of Texas studying accounting. And then the
Mhm.
youngest one is actually a pretty accomplished rower.
Mhm.
You will find me on the weekends at a regatta or something else affiliated with rowing because he's going to be that one kid on who's a rower, and it's a beautiful sport. I'm glad we're a part of it, and he will
Mm-hmm.
row in college, and he's looking at the Naval Academy and Cornell. So we'll see what school he goes to. So we're
Okay,
excited for him.
that's good to know about them.
So, Mike, first things first, the hospitality show. First ever edition of the hospitality show was held this year. How was that experience, and what can we expect from the show in the future?
Right. So Kazim, let me take a step back because I think everyone wants to know, why are we even doing the hospitality show and why does that even make sense? My thought was, and believe me, I'm a high tech Hall of Famer, so I love high tech and I always have. But a lot of the people that I reported to really didn't attend high tech. And the people that I think are making decisions now within the context of technology really weren't going to high tech. They needed another outlet and they need something that enables them to understand technology and where it's going. And that really is what the hospitality show is all about. It's to bring that ecosystem of players who are now making a decision about technology, and giving them a place where they can have a risk-free environment to understand what's going on, right? So think of the owners and the asset managers and chief marketing officers and chief operating officers and chief revenue officers, for them to have that holistic view of what technology is, where it's going, what's happening, to have some inspirational speakers, and of course to have the technology folks also be in there. I think, I missed a critical element. We also want to bring like the general managers involved too. So then you have key leadership who's at the hotel level actually informing technology and what it should be doing. So from a I provide services to technology, those people are satisfied and have a new audience to appeal to. And that new audience is the one who's actually learning from the hospitality show. So, it's one of those things, check all those boxes, because we were able to do that in the first go round. Believe me, not thrilled that it was on the same date as high tech. As I mentioned to you, I'm kind of a high tech Hall of Famer here, of which I think there's only 53 of us, and since we're getting older, some of us are not with us anymore. So I got to tell you, it's great to be a part of that crew, and I don't think we'll make that mistake again. So
So, what can we expect from the hospitality show next year or in the future?
yeah, I do think that we're going to continue with the quality of the speakers. We're going to, the content is going to be fantastic. Let me make sure I give everyone the date because it is going to be in October. It's October 28th through the 30th. It's going to be in San Antonio. San Antonio is beautiful, by the way, river walk, everything. So if you haven't gone, you should go. And you are going to have the right, once again, it's the right people in the room. And the more we invite the right people in the room, I think better technology decisions are going to be made and better technology is going to be created. And
Mhm.
we're really hoping that, we're able to proliferate the right technology.
Mike, you have constantly talked about the proliferation of technology in the industry. How do you think the situation of technology in the hospitality industry is currently as compared to other industries? What are the
Sure.
shortcomings? What needs to be improved like right now?
Okay. So I'll give you kind of the two different IT models if you want to look at IT on a spectrum. So there's the financial services folks. They have what's called a plan, build, run model. Okay. And then on the other side of the spectrum is what hospitality and restaurants and everything else on that. So if you look at them, they have more of a technology enablement model. Okay. So what that is more is a broker integrate and orchestrate model. Okay. So you basically you buy your solution, you put it in within your ecosystem, and a lot of the times you're not the one that's running it, So you don't have servers in the hotel basement anymore. You're generally operating in the cloud. So therefore, you're more like a conductor. You're not playing an instrument, right? But you're making sure all these instruments play together, right? Versus my friends over in financial services who are actually building code. They're actually building the checking account software or what have you, right? Whereas for us, you can go out and buy a PMS, right? You don't need to code that yourself. And if you are coding your PMS, you're wasting time because there's about 52 others out there who have a pretty decent PMS solution that you can use. And believe me, whatever experience you're having, it's not that much different than everybody else. So that's where the broker integrate and orchestrate model comes into play. Your strength is not how you aggregate data or get data, it's how you use the data. And that's where I think our industry is a lot different than everybody else's. And then when you look at the pandemic and what has happened to the industry, a lot of brands and what have you had to let go a lot of people, right? I mean, there was a natural curve. There was groups that some let off 50%, others up to 75%, right? And by the way, when they left, some of them didn't come back. They just kept going. They're like, I'm going to go over to technology because A, they pay better, and B, the career options are a little bit thicker. But for those that were left, they were kind of, what do we do now? And I think you're seeing a lot more being able to express that buying is better than building. And that building, look, I always tell people, look, when you build something, it's good once. And that's when you're done. Pencils down, you're done. But you got to keep going because next Tuesday, Microsoft is going to come in and change the operating system on you. You better make sure your solution works on that new operating system. So you're constantly testing almost every week. You're going through regression testing or trying to figure out, okay, what patch is going to make my system break, right? Whereas when you're working with a bunch of others, it's easier because somebody else is doing that testing, and Microsoft has a one-on-one relationship with the Oracles or the Infors or the Agilysys of the world, and they make sure their product is robust and makes sense and is constantly has those security patches in there.
As you are a professionally trained accountant and a technologist, I would love to know your opinion about the fintech products in the hospitality
Sure.
industry. Obviously, we have credit card payments, we have mobile payments, but do you see a future of digital wallets like Apple Pay, Google Pay, or other peer-to-peer payment methods as we have in the alternate accommodation sector? Do you see a future of that in the hospitality industry?
Yeah, you know what? The magic of all of those payment wallets and being able to use them with the mobile key, I think is where the magic happens. When people get used to it, and I'm a big fan of the mobile key, by the way, and I always have been. I've been pushing mobile keys ever since the first mobile key came out. And believe me, they took a lot of batteries and they weren't a good solution then. They're better now. So I got to tell you, I'm even more excited about them. And once people start getting comfortable with using them, it is going to be a differentiating factor in the industry. It will be. It's not if, it's when. And I do think that, especially as people are thinking more in the terms of touchless, it's going to get even more important. So that's where, whether it's a payment, whether it's a digital, the digital wallet, whether it's the key, all of that stuff is going to come together.
I think there must come a time when hospitality must cater to the need of the public because people simply, it was a long time ago that they used to carry cash. Now, then came the credit cards. Now they don't even want to carry credit cards. They just want to have mobile for everything.
Yep. You're absolutely right. And hopefully, some of it's a generational thing. And you're seeing that, as people start becoming more and more comfortable with these things, as the next generation turns, I think, many of my kids, they don't carry cash. They just don't. So I think once these generations get comfortable, we'll be okay.
Whenever we
Uh-huh.
talk about technology in the hospitality, the most discussed topic nowadays is robotics. But on
Uh,
this very podcast, we had guests who were like, we need to implement robotics right now. They were actually trying to implement robotics in their properties. But then we have people who are like, robotics is not for hospitality. It's like a
sure.
fad, it will fade away. Where do you think, why is there so much polarization regarding robotics
Yeah.
in the industry? And what is the future of robotics in the industry?
Like, so there's the hardcore robotics is going to replace people point of view. I will never fall into that because hospitality is it's about hospitality. It's a very personable, people oriented trade and craft, of which robotics, as nice of a face as many of these robots have, and some of them, well, they look like dinosaurs or they can look like, somebody else, right? I mean, if you saw the fully robotic one in Japan, even they are kind of rethinking about what they're doing. But so, uh, you know, I, I don't, I do think that there's a natural place for robots to augment what people are doing. I think folks like Talios out in Austin are doing some great work with their Rosie the robot, which is an augmented vacuum, which kind of
Um,
follows along. So think of this as a very well done kind of Roomba, which is specific to hospitality. The way it operates, the way they're doing such a fantastic job out there. Mike, big shout out to Micah Green, who's kind of leading this, who's been in that, he's purpose built a robot for hospitality. So whether it's a ballroom that needs to be cleaned, these robots, you can just send them and they go. It's phenomenal. And I think there's always a place for better tools, right? And I think robotics is going to be a tool. And you're going to see them as pop-up baristas who can pour coffee for you in that 11 to 1 time frame where you probably shouldn't be drinking coffee in the afternoon anyway, but there's not going to be enough people to really justify having somebody there pouring it. So having a robotic arm that can pour and do stuff like that, kind of cool. And the serving ones, they're going to be good. I think they're going to be, once again, it's for different installs too, right? Like resorts may make more sense for delivery out to your cabana, right? Bring me the beer.
Okay, so the national thing with robotics is AI and big data. Now, big data obviously has a lot of implementations in the industry, so is AI-based products. What do you see AI will be able to do in the hospitality industry that
Sure.
will change the way we are perceiving AI currently?
What I'm hoping for is AI will enable a more personalized experience. So think of it as a Cosm or Maria. You'll have your own price at a certain place, right? And not only that is we know what you like to do, and we will tailor an itinerary for you. We will be able to do as much or as little as you would prefer, right? Because I think
mhm.
everybody is a little worried about AI being too creepy. And look, I do think that for you to have a great experience, you might have to give to get. And as you do that over time, it will get to know you better and be able to tailor your experience such that it will get to know you and you'll get comfortable with it, and you'll find that it'll be a natural extension of that which you do and that which you are. It will know when to book your vacation. It will know when you should and how much you're willing to pay. That's what I think is cool. And that's what I think, that's the power of revenue management by individual, by not just group or buckets. I mean, when you look at the airlines, it's just, breaking down a airplane by buckets. Whereas I think, it's a lot more difficult in hotels because you got to figure out how long is someone going to stay, what else is going on the environment. What big, is there a convention or some other meeting that's taking place? There's just a lot of complexity, and AI is going to cut through a lot of that.
Mike, you talked about hospitality professionals were like old school. So the concept of hospitality was a home away from home. So it was always about people touch and the personal touch. But now we
Right.
have a generation who like to text instead of call. They would like to avoid personal contact if they could help it. So do you think this will fundamentally change the foundation of hospitality, the personal touch?
No, I don't think so. I think what you have to do is make sure that your tech stack can accommodate, different generations, different feelings, different, I always tell people don't single thread or assume anything. There are some people who want that personable touch. Then there's others who, like you said, just don't talk to me. Which is and to classify folks as generational or whatever, that's kind of a misnomer too, because I think different individuals want to be uh, met with a body of services differently, and for you to get to know them, I think is what's going to be differentiated.
Today, we are talking to you. How do you see the technology landscape of the hospitality industry, say, like 5 years from now or a decade from now? How do you see the hospitality and
Sure.
technology? What are you expecting? What will be the next big thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I would say is, if we keep playing that if we play out that buy versus build model, right? Eventually solutions are going to start to converge, right? So we're not going to have, look, a typical hotel has up to 49 different services and solutions within it for a full service hotel. Man, that's a lot. Can you imagine when things start to look? There are still folks who are operating on prem.
Mhm.
I'm seeing a world where we'll have great uptime. We'll be 100% secure. We will be, because we didn't even talk about security in this whole discussion, and some of that's a reason because I think there's others out there who do security very well and have to. And I'll give a big shout out to my CIO friend Eric Brunette, who's over for Trump and his Trump organizations. He gets 9 hotels, but he's got more cybersecurity events that happen in 30 minutes than most of us have over a month. So he is absolutely getting constantly attacked. Uh, in the future, I'm hoping that cybersecurity, ransomware, all that stuff is going to be a thing of the past. There's going to be other events that'll happen, but hopefully we're not wasting our time with that. I'm hoping that things are going to be simpler, better, faster, cheaper. And I got to tell you, less is going to be more. So,
Especially the independent or boutique hotels,
yeah.
they are reluctant to implement new technologies precisely because of the reason of security. They are not sure how secure the technology is. So what would be your suggestion to those hotels? How can they take a leap of faith in the technology, or what needs to be changed?
Yeah, I think Cosm, a lot of these folks are operating under the guise of security through obscurity. So if you don't know me, you don't know where I'm at, you're not going to find me. Well, got to tell you, that's not a way. Hope is not a strategy, and trying to hide is not a way to prevent kind of cybersecurity. You really, this is the PhD or work with the grown-ups time. I mean, there are folks out there who try to cut back on, they don't want to hire a CISO or they don't want to hire a CIO. I'm telling you, there are once your organization is shut down for a period of time, not mentioning any casinos that might be going through that, but I think they're going to think twice about getting the right CIO and the right CISO and somebody who does have security at front of mind, and as opposed to once again building, right? The whole building, very rarely does somebody who build their own technology build security in there. But some of these other commercial apps, they have to do it. They have to be secure or they're not going to be in business. And I got to tell you, a lot of the things you're developing towards when you do it yourself, you want functionality, you want things to be right, you want the new GUI, you want the new this and that. Rarely are you saying, "Oh man, I got to secure that stuff too." Oops. So I got to tell you, that whole buy versus build thing plays itself out in a lot of different ways. And I know
It
there's some
does.
app dev guys out there who are going to try to kill me, but that's all right. I
That's how it is.
exactly.
So, Mike, this brings us to the end of our conversation. It was an absolute pleasure having you on this podcast. I'm sure both me and Maria and our audiences would learn a lot from what you had to say today. And we hope that we will get you again here sometime.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's an exciting time to be in technology. It's a great time to be in hospitality. And it's great that you guys are doing this. I would love the opportunity to be on this forum. So thank you.
Thanks for watching us. Hope you liked today's episode. See you with another guest. Till then, take care and goodbye.